Let's move on because we got a couple more trades we got to talk about. So next we got Depot, and I guess we can bunch in the Harden trade. So I mean, like, there's a lot of discussion in the NBA community. Basically, people just saying that basically the Rockets traded Harden for Karis LeVert and then traded Karis LeVert for Depot, and then they ended up with Kelly Olynyk and Avery Bradley.
You got to add Jared Allen in there too. So
And okay, yeah, Jared Allen, yes, found his way on the Cavs. Now, if we're just talking about the overall trade, like, I'm not gonna lie, it looks bad. Okay, let me talk about the Harden portion of the trade first. And it's gonna look bad because at the end, this is what you ended up with on the roster. But the fact that people weren't saying this when they initially got Depot and all those picks just
Don't
tells me
lie,
that
I have. I was on this same podcast saying that they lost.
But
What are you talking
my
about? I was
thing
on the
is,
same thing saying that Cavaliers won the trade, bro. Go listen back.
no, I'm not talking
You
about
said
them
you
winning.
said
I'm
you
talking
said
about Houston in and of themselves, right? Like, again, people are
Bro,
saying right
I
now
was on the
Houston doesn't
same
know what they're doing.
podcast and I was saying the Cavaliers won the trade. If I
no.
was
Okay,
gonna
I
pick a
understand.
winner.
I understand, but you also said that the Houston did well. Still, you said Houston did
That's what I'm
well at the
saying.
time when the trade first happened. You said Houston
Yeah,
did well.
they
No,
finish
that's
your point and then I'll
saying.
continue.
That's all I'm saying.
So all I'm saying is that I think, like, people are having they're falling victim to the moment. Yeah, okay, now they technically ended up with Kelly Olynyk and Avery Bradley as a result of trading Harden, but like a couple weeks ago, people were
Fam, they
not
didn't
saying that.
technically. They ended up.
But we know what came with Harden when he left, man. It wasn't just that. Like, you know what I mean? Because in my opinion, I rather have the way Oladipo was playing. I rather have the cap space and those draft picks than to be paying Oladipo right now to be in and out the lineup. It just doesn't make sense in my books. And he was a rental to begin with because they weren't going to sign that guy back. So it's
Yo,
just like, I don't understand why everybody's
the
falling.
revision.
Yeah, go ahead.
There's definitely revisionist history here, right? But like, I'm okay with that because I know for a fact on this pod we all said Houston did well. Like, we're not like nobody came on here and said Houston did poorly based on the situation that they're in. All three of us said Houston did well, right? The only thing for me is and I think Mans are kind of framing this in the sense of like you gave up Karis LeVert and ended up with nothing, but people are forgetting the fact that they tried to extend Oladipo and he declined it. Right? So once you try and extend him, you obviously lost him at that point. So whatever you get back for him is a bonus. Right? People are framing it as if they traded Karis LeVert for Oladipo and then just let Depot walk for nothing. They tried to sign him, he declined.
They did still.
But they tried to sign him and he declined. So what are they supposed to do at that point? I guess that's my question.
Again,
I understand. Again, we can look back and say, yo, you guys obviously came out with next to nothing. I hear that, right? But we can't ignore the fact that we can't just move like they didn't try and re-sign Depot because that's a very important time in this. Whether you want to say, okay, they should have asked Oladipo to see how he felt about coming to Houston and if he'd re-sign, that's the better discussion because if you trade for a man and he declines your contract offer, that means you didn't reach out to him and ask him Wagwan before you traded for him. That's the mistake.
That's a fact.
But we can't act like they traded LeVert for Depot, then traded Depot for Kelly Olynyk. There's an important event that happened within that time. That's all I'm saying.
See, to me, that's just excuses. Like,
no, it's a fact of the matter.
Yeah, but then the bottom line fact is that you did trade Depot for nothing. That's the fact. That's like the bottom line. You got back Skittles and some peanuts for Depot. That's the fact.
Okay, but I guess here's my question to you, right? I think mans are making that the issue when the issue should be that you traded for a man that wasn't willing to re-sign for you. Because again, once he says he's not re-signing, what are they supposed to do?
But that's their fault too, though, no?
That's what I'm saying.
That's what I just said. Are you guys listening to me or what?
No, I hear that, but I'm saying we have to blame them as well.
But this is what I'm saying. When you say that, fam, I'm hearing excuses. Like, I'm hearing you saying like you can't really fault them. That's what I'm hearing. I don't know. I may be wrong.
So listen to what I'm saying. I said if there is blame to be had, it should be when they traded for a man that didn't guarantee his contract extension. That is me saying they're at fault. But I'm saying put the fault where it should be. Because once he does not sign the contract extension, which is their fault, what were they supposed to do? Keep him and let him walk? So that's all I'm saying. I'm saying we're focusing on the wrong thing right now. Yes, Houston is at fault, but focus on what matters here.
But I see that is fair, but I cannot not now focus on what happened.
No,
You know what
no,
I'm saying?
yo,
Like,
I'm not saying not to focus on the fact that they traded this and ended up with this. That's not what I'm saying. But let's not point to the fact that they traded him for Skittles, because we all know if a man's not re-signing for you, you're not getting more than Skittles. What we need to focus on is the fact that they clearly did bad business trading up Levert, who had multiple years as a contract, for a guy in Oladipo who clearly had no intentions of playing there, and they didn't confirm that.
see, I think the reason why mans are looking at what they did with the Heat is because it forces you now to go back to the original package. Like
Right, but
the original trade didn't force us to go back to say, because again, yes, when they traded for Depot, the main reason why Mandem were saying, um, mans were saying like, maybe this can be a thing is because people had some type of hope in Depot. I know I
not
did. Like I had some hope to say that Depot could be whatever. Like he could at least be as good, if not better, than Karis LeVert, especially after Karis LeVert with the whole that whole injury scare that he went through. But for me, it's like, yes, him declining that left them in a bad position. Fair. That is very fair. But my thing is then to turn around, it's almost like the Raptors where we would have the discussion. At what point do you say to yourself that on principle and pride alone, I can't do this? On principle and pride alone. Because literally you gave the man
like the
away and
drops.
you actually didn't get anything in return, bro. Like they got a swap draft pick that you might as well have just gotten a second rounder, because you're not swapping picks with the Heat next year. You're shit. You're not swapping. So that it's like they toss that in there to make it look. It's like dressing, fam. It's just like window dressing, bro.
Yeah,
Like I would have
but
rather
this
him
is
just walk. If that's the
No, you can't.
case,
Come
yo,
on,
here.
man.
No, no,
Don't
no,
don't
no. Yo,
say
Chris,
that,
hold on.
man.
but what
Rob
are you
Zombie,
getting?
Rob Zombie.
You're
Because yo, here's the
actually
thing.
getting nothing.
No, no, no. Yo, okay, but listen to me, right? Everything you just said brings me back to when he declines the contract offer. Because once he declined that contract offer, you got absolutely nothing. You just traded Karis LeVert for nothing. Because what would have happened in the offseason when Depot walked? What would we have done? We would have looked back at the Harden trade and done the exact same thing we're doing now.
Yeah,
That's
but
what I'm
you rather
saying.
get taken
Focus,
for a ride?
but that's what I'm saying. We have to focus on what's important here. Because again, whether or not, if we're looking at Houston specifically, how Miami does is irrelevant to you. So once he declines that contract offer, you already lost him. You just traded Karis LeVert for nothing because your season's already over. And now, so Depot's not going to help you compete for shit, and he's going to walk in the offseason. So this trade looked bad from the moment Depot declined that offer, because what did Mans think that Depot was going to go for something? Is that why we
Something.
okay? Clearly he wasn't though. That's what I'm saying. Clearly
But
he has no value right now.
and what I'm saying is when you realize that he's not going for anything, you pack up your ball and you go home off of principle and morals alone, bro. You
Bro,
can't get taken for a ride.
I'd rather you trade him for whatever you can get and give KPJ some time to let him hoop. Still, that's me personally. Like again, I'm saying they're at fault, but because the way this turned out, yes, they're at fault. But I think Mavs are focusing on the wrong thing. Their fault lies in the fact that every team that wanted to trade for Kyle Lowry, contract extension talks had to be had. If you had any sense, unless you were willing to accept the rental. If you're not willing to accept the rental, you have to talk to him about contract. It's that simple. You traded Karis LeVert, who's on a decent contract for multiple years, for a guy on an expiring one. And at no point did you ask him, like, how do you feel about playing in Houston with John Wall?
They fucked up, honestly. Yes, in the macro level, if we're not trying to get into the details, what they did was they
No.
traded the man for 4 first-round picks, 4 swaps, which we don't see those amount into anything, anyways. Especially how Brooklyn are moving, so it's basically just 4 first-round picks and Kelly Olynyk. That's what they got back in the macro sense. So like, which again, it forces you now to just double back. For me, like I remember in the beginning I said, like, if I was them I would have taken Jared Allen, and it was good for the Cavs to just swoop in and take that their big man in the future. Like, so I don't know, bro. Like, me seeing them do what they did with the Depot and giving it up for Scott free, like, yeah, they were in a bad position.
But I'll say
But for
this.
me, it's like sometimes you just got to take your ball home.
I'll say this.
Like,
I think the problem here, and I don't know if it's obvious, but I don't know if Houston had a clear direction of what they wanted to do, because all indications when Harden got traded would have been, okay, yeah,
They're still
they
trying to
got John
compete
Wall, they got
still.
Oladipo. They're just gonna see what the tandem can do. And if they had extension talks with
And
Oladipo,
would.
that was looking like their backcourt for at least the next 2 years, right? Granted, those stocks fell through, and now all of a sudden they're doing a fire sale, but not really doing a fire sale. So it's like, what are your intentions? What are your
so
motives?
question though, if 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 they say they didn't offer Depot the extension and they just said that they're going to handle all of this at the end of the year, and then he still walked away, would it be the same reaction?
Yes.
Because I don't feel like it would be.
Yeah.
I
No,
think it'd be
I'm not saying
worse.
react. Obviously, it wouldn't be the same initial reaction. But what Mans would do is at some point, someone's gonna raise the question and post the picture of what came in and what went out for James Harden. So if this still would have happened, we'd still be having the same conversations. What I'm saying, it's just once you, first of all, once the media, everybody finds out that he declined the contract, now his value touches the absolute floor. If I'm trading for Oladipo, I know he has no use to you. You're already losing games. You have KPJ behind him, who everybody wants to see play. We all know that. So what am I giving you at that point? I'm matching salary, and here, take what you can get. That's why I think they fucked up in the sense of if you trade Karis LeVert, right, who has multiple years on his contract, you got to confirm something with Depot, like something. And if Depot finessed them and said maybe Depot gave them some inclination that he wanted to play there, then sucks.
And then
Still.
went on the 20 game losing streak and say,
Yeah,
"What?"
maybe it sucks still, but that's still your fault, right? Jared Allen, I think they just got completely fleeced still. Like the way Jared Allen was playing, before he got traded, there was no reason for. I guess Houston didn't take him because again, they run small ball. They're probably going to park him behind Christian Wood, and he'd just be back on the bench again. So maybe they said first round pick is more useful to them, but like it's going to look bad. Like we're going to look back in history, and it's going to look bad. And there's no excuse for it in terms of chalking up to James Harden looked fat. None of that bullshit. Like James Harden was James Harden game 1 of this year and game 50 that we're into right now. So this shit's going to look bad at the end of the day. It is.
Honestly, this is the reason why trading superstar players is just so fucked, bro. Because I honestly can't remember the last
Nobody
superstar
wins,
player that
bro.
went
Nobody
and got a
wins.
haul, like got a decent return, you know?
Yo, it can look decent at the time. Like again, because we all came in here and said, yo, this looks fine. Like based on the situation, based on what we've seen in the past, like this looks okay. But when you look, whenever you go back and look at it, the shit always looks bad. The only one we can point to is that Denver trade for Carmelo Anthony. That's it. And what did they even get from that? Nothing.
Danilo
Yeah,
and Wilson
nothing.
Chandler,
Yeah,
baby neck Wilson Chandler.
you didn't win any games from that. So like you're losing.
Nah, they
Look
made
at
the playoffs off of that, fam.
but I'm saying like you traded. Okay, look at the Lonzo trade, the AD trade. You re-signed. You got Brandon Ingram, obviously, but he's nowhere close to Anthony Davis. And now,
And Lonzo Ball,
but we're back to the trade deadline, and they're talking about trading Lonzo Ball.
which they
They
shouldn't
obviously
have.
did it, which they didn't. But like we're at a situation now where 2 years we might be looking at the Pelicans with just Josh Hart and Brandon Ingram, and I think Josh Hart's restricted too. So who knows? There's no winning still. Like there is none. That's why when I thought that the Houston Rockets went out and got a man like Depot, I thought they were in a better situation than most because they at least got a player that can hoop for the most part. That like to our knowledge, right? But I
I
don't
just
know.
think Houston's
Still.
confused, fam. They didn't know have a clear direction of how they wanted to finish out the season. They thought that they
Yeah,
had a
they didn't
plan.
definitely.
Yeah, and it didn't work out for them, and now they
I
They
started
definitely should
searching
have
for
took
something.
whatever Philadelphia was offering, whatever package was surrounding that Ben Simmons. And I apparently the sticking point with that was the extras that they wanted alongside Ben. Clearly, Ben
I
for
don't know.
Harden should have been the
Oh,
swap.
Ben, yeah. But I said that off rip. Still, you go get the guy that's an all-star, like 100%, not this fucking
Facts.
bullshit.
Let's move on to the next.